Teton Sioux have a saying that a people without history are like the blowing wind. Perhaps this is why we love Yellowstone so much. We have preserved a piece of our heritage. A living testament to the American experience. In this kingdom, nature rules and never ceases to surprise us with yet another wonder, another mystery. And now, after the fires, we have yet another wonder to contemplate.
West, that were very impressive, right near that painted pot area.
Oh, isn't that? Did you get out on the trail in the painted pot? That's a fascinating area as far as the fire is concerned, because if you look at that, the fire went through that whole area, and yet there's plenty
The
of
fires of
water.
'88 were an event that we will never forget.
That fire.
Yellowstone has always been a place to learn about the power of nature. At certain times of the year, it seems primeval, an awesome glimpse into the past. Large fires come rarely. The plateau is more than 7,000 feet high, and snow is on the ground 6 months of the year. The heavy thunderstorms begin in the spring. In the Rocky Mountains, lightning is routine. As many as 1,500 lightning strikes have been recorded in a 10-day period. Over the centuries, tens of thousands of fires have started and then simply died out. Of those that did burn, most burned less than an acre. In the spring of '88, the rain was above normal. In fact, the month of May was one of the wettest on record. Then came summer. From the beginning of June through August, there was virtually no rain. It would prove to be the driest summer in the history of the park. The driest summer in more than 100 years. And the wind began to blow. With dry weather and high winds, the fires did not go out as usual. They began to grow. Their names became a part of our days. Shoshone, Storm Creek, Fan, Clover, Mist, Falls.
Talk to him. That's kind of his bailiwick anyway, isn't it?
Ordinarily, the policy in the greater Yellowstone area would allow the fires to burn their natural course. But this summer, drought conditions were extraordinary. By July 21st, 1% of the park was on fire. From that date, management decided that all fires would be fought, controlled. Smoke on the mountains. In the beginning, against a blue sky, it was picturesque, rising 10,000 feet or more. The fires continued to grow. The numbers got bigger. 2,000, 4,000, 10,000 acres. The sky was no longer blue.
Wake up!
Firefighters seemed to be everywhere. It was a unified effort. The drought wouldn't let go. August was the normal fire season, but the fires were way ahead of schedule. North Fork, a human-caused fire, fought from its start outside the park, had crossed the park boundary and had grown to 50,000 acres. North of the park, yet another man-caused fire. It was called Hell Roaring, named after a nearby creek, but some people believed it got its name from the way it burned. By the middle of August, there had been more than 40 different fires. Winds blew through the park at 70 miles per hour. Overnight, some fires doubled. In one night, more was burned than in the entire previous month. By the end of August, the North Fork fire had burned through 100,000 acres. Then it moved toward Old Faithful Geyser. The Old Faithful Inn, built at the turn of the century, is considered the world's largest log structure and a vital part of Yellowstone history. Every effort was made to protect the historic building. Visitors were evacuated. The fire came to a ridge 1/4 mile away. The fire crews felt the building warming up. The fire rolled in. Cabins and storage sheds were burned. Then, thanks to firefighters and the luck of a wind shift, the fire passed. The inn did not burn. Thousands of firefighters were now in the battle. They worked 12 and 14-hour shifts, long, dangerous hours. Bulldozers cut fire lines 120 feet wide, but even that was jumped by the fire. The fire then turned toward Mammoth Hot Springs. Facilities were closed. Fire crews hosed down the structures. All wood was hauled away. Below Mammoth, in the town of Gardner, residents prepared for the worst. The fire came closer, and the smoke became thicker and thicker, obscuring the sun. Those in the park could feel the heat of the fire a mile away. There was a sense of being absolutely powerless. Through the summer, we experienced a full range of emotions. A terrible fear at first, and then people became almost mesmerized, as if it was meant to be. We had to stretch our minds to include yet another aspect of being alive, being part of nature, being reminded that nature is more than something pretty, that wilderness speaks in many ways, on many levels. During the fires, we were concerned about the wildlife. We had seen that, for the most part, large animals moved calmly and safely near burning areas. Buffalo, elk, and other large animals were seen grazing and resting within sight of the flames, often 100 yards from burning trees. Most didn't seem concerned about the fire. Although the smoke may have caused some disorientation, the mere presence of fire near an animal rarely seemed to cause panic. Seasonal activities went on as usual. It was over, what some have called the largest firefighting effort in history. A total of 25,000 firefighters, 45 helicopters, 100 bulldozers, the Army, the Marines. But an act of nature decided when the fires would go out. Things were still smoking when animals and birds resumed foraging. The animals had adapted with surprising ease. Surveys were made even before all the fires were out. Of the more than 35,000 large mammals in the park, less than 1% were lost. Most were elk. 9 buffalo, 4 deer, and 2 moose were found. 2 grizzly bear may have died, but no other endangered species were directly affected. The dead bison and elk quickly became a part of the food chain. The smaller mammals had a higher death rate and less cover from their predators. Hawks came from everywhere. Coyotes, falcons, and owls found improved hunting in meadows cleared by burning. Bald eagles lost 5 nests, but none died. There is no shortage of nesting sites for eagles. The fires increased the diversity of bird habitat. During the winter, under a blanket of snow, it sometimes seemed as though the fires never happened. Then other times, the snow made it seem even more stark. The fires became a focus of soul-searching and second-guessing during the winter, and we looked to the spring to answer a lot of questions. It's understandable that we should view the fire as a great disaster. It certainly was in the context of a brief human lifespan and in terms of human anxiety. But the blackened scene you see before you is only a part of the effect of the fire. In most areas, the fire burned through the forest. It didn't burn it up. When viewed from the air, you can see a mosaic, a haphazard burn. The fire played hopscotch on the wind. You see burns, then green trees, scorched grasslands, untouched meadows, new meadows. This mosaic shows why the fire couldn't be put out. High winds carried embers 100 yards, a half-mile downwind, starting new fires. Crowning carried fire over hand lines, over bulldozer lines, over roads and highways, over rivers and canyons. While many people saw the fires as a catastrophe, scientists immediately recognized that Yellowstone had been the site of a remarkable natural event. Now we would have the opportunity to watch the process of growth from the beginning. A fire or a windstorm opens up the canopy of a forest, lets the sunlight in. Then new plants grow, and the diversity of life increases. It becomes a healthier forest. We now know that about half the park experienced some kind of burning, but less than 1% was burned enough to kill roots, bulbs, and seeds in the ground. 99% of it will support life. It's good, healthy soil. Look around. 1 year after the burn, these meadows are covered with grass and ablaze with wildflowers. The moon begins her journey across the night sky. How dark and fearsome the night before we had fire. When did we begin to keep the flame? When did we first control and then create this extraordinary power? Some say over 500,000 years ago. Fire is power. It forged our steps, from cooking food to clearing land, to making pottery, to making copper and tin, to bronze, steel. Fire has brought us out of darkness, given us tools and technology. Where once only the moon stalked the lonely night, now we, thanks to fire, stalk the moon. Fire, our benefactor, our spiritual guide, our mysterious companion, is a part of the natural sequence of change, birth, life, and death. Fire in wilderness has its life cycle as surely as bears and trees. Many people think that Yellowstone was destroyed in the summer of '88 and reborn in the spring of '89, new life rising from the ashes. But rebirth implies death, and Yellowstone cannot die or be reborn. It is merely in a different stage of its existence. Yellowstone is merely doing what it has been doing for thousands of years. The fires have merged one ecosystem into another, but there is no beginning nor end to natural process. Yellowstone cannot be fixed in time.
The unfinished song that I sing with the wind is born of the fire in the sky. The warmth of the earth calls me back once again from the heart of the wood where I lie. And I'll run to the top of the hills as I go. I'll touch the tall prairie grass, and the prints of my feet will cause meadows to glow with the warmth of my joy when I pass. The creatures who live in this land that I love will leave for a while, then return as seasons spin by, clad in velvet of growth, and the cycle spins round at the burn. And I'll run to the top of the hills as I go. I'll touch the tall prairie grass, and the prints of my feet will cause meadows to glow with the warmth of my joy when I pass. I'll hold all the forest within my embrace, for each tree has given me birth, and all that may wither will soon be replaced by the life that I call from the earth. For my dance, though it's fiery, is gentle and slow, like the dreams of a lover who sighs for a glimpse of his love in the grass bending low, and her voice soft as smoke in the skies. It's the unfinished song that I sing with the wind from the heart of the wood where I lie.